And your life is going to change. You are going to be dead, to be dead, to be dead. My name is Mel, and your life is going to change. You are going to be dead, to be dead, to be dead. My name is Mel, and your life is going to change. You are going to be different. You are going to be out. You are going to be bigger and larger than ever imagined it possible. And you know why? It's just you and I will find the power that's been dormant inside of you all of this time. And all of this time, you are afraid to go out and no longer will that be the case. You will be the shark. You will be the God. God is the man. You will be the one that everybody comes to and says, hey, look, they're there. The master's there. The teacher there. The truth there. The one that will make my life different. And if I can do that, remember this kind of stuff. I'm here to tell you. I'm here to change your life. Your life will no longer be the same. Together, I'm going to conquer you. Before you know everything you imagine possible to become possible. For one simple reason, and it is possible. My name is Mel, and your life is going to change. You are going to be dead, to be dead, to be dead. My name is Mel, and your life is going to change. You are going to be dead, to be dead, to be dead.
And oops. Welcome to another program of Uncommon Sense. So as the programs progress and we go daily, bit by bit, I begin to gather more professional equipment. I use less the computers and I use more the microphones and the stabilizers and the music from another computer and this other thing that I'm using over here, which helps. So you will notice that there's a difference in the voice as well. Now this microphone picks up my voice a little bit better than the other microphone that's usually found on the computers. This is me on radio. Lawrence, welcome to the studio. Josephine, Joyce, Vin, welcome. Suba, welcome again. And my mother is watching as well. Welcome, Mamji. And today begins a very interesting discussion that we are going to have with a very special person. Let me copy this link so that I'll have it here. And he's going to come on. His name is Eugene Tay. We did a broadcast today for about an hour or so on his program. And his program is all about, and we'll talk about his program and what it's all about, the science of the paranormal, about real paranormal events that are happening around the world as well. And also to pay attention to some of the paranormal events that happen in our own minds. So they're not really paranormal. That maybe perhaps we need to take that long mental health holiday that we've been wanting to do, and also at the same time to talk to a mental health professional. So how do you separate what is reality from what is fantasy? So let me see if I can do this. I need to hit return. No, I don't. I need to hit this. And then I hit return. Okay, here we go. So that's the link right there. And Eugene, all you got to do is hit that link and I'll see you backstage and pull you to the fore. And everyone's wanting to meet you. Metawi, welcome from Bangkok as well. And it'll be good to have your involvement in this. Malinka, welcome. It's good to see you as well. And Unchard, welcome. And Sally, welcome as well. So it's good to be able to see both sides here. Soon I'll be able to see the YouTube thing as well and to know where everything is bouncing. And right now, I apologize to my YouTube fans that I'm not able to see your comments over there. I can only see it because of the limitations of computers and what I have to do here. So eventually what I'll be able to do is create a split screen between YouTube and Facebook, and then so I'll be able to do that, because right now my little iMac, is it an iMac? No, what the hell do you call these little things? Little Pocket Air, Apple Airs. I have no idea what to call it. Will be the one that will handle all the music, and that's connected directly to the speakers. So a tiny little thing like that will sound really good. Also at the same time, Charn, welcome to the studio as well. We are waiting for Eugene to get on board. All you got to do, Eugene, if you're in Facebook, to be able to hit that or give StreamYard permission to see you, but just follow the steps. It's so simple, and then I'll bring you on, and then we'll be able to talk. MacBook Air, that's it. Thank you very much. That's what I was using. The iPad is, I gotta look for it. It's somewhere here. You're here. You're not backstage, Eugene. I don't see you here, so I can't bring you on board. You gotta click that link. That's about 4 people below you, 5 people below you. The one that says HTTPS dot, double backslash StreamYard, and then I'll be able to bring you in. Otherwise, it's going to be very difficult. But let me try and do it. Let me see if I can do this. Oh, there you are. Okay, great. I see you backstage. Hey, Eugene.
Hey.
Welcome.
Doc.
Yeah, isn't this easy to use?
Very. Yeah, I'm quite impressed by how easy it is to just log in.
So simple. That's all we got to do, and then you can throw it out into the various different places. How fun is this? Yeah.
I'm learning every day.
Yeah. So am I. So I've set up this whole studio here, even though I have a real studio with equipment over there that I cannot and have not learned to use yet. So I will at some point. But this is my microphone voice, and I should have used this earlier today. But I just learned how to use this.
Well, the show is just gonna get better and better each week, Doc.
It's just gonna get better. Tell everybody a little bit about yourself, what you're doing, what your goal is, what you'd like to do, what you'd like to see, your vision.
Well, hi everyone who's tuning in right now. My name is Eugene Tay. In my day job, I work at a Ministry XR where I look at projects and I conceptualize products for VR and AR, and these are all the techie stuff. But on the side, what I like to do is I enjoy just exploring the unknown, and I think that's how Doc, you and I got something in common. We just want to expand our consciousness. We're always looking out for the next thing, that the answer or the truth, or the seekers, as we call us. So I also run this portal called, or this platform called Supernatural Confessions, where I listen to people's story, much like what you do, listening to my story now, and we try to find, a way to put some explanation to the supernatural encounters that people face. That's what I do.
Great. So the title of Eugene's book will be "There's a Seeker Born Every Minute."
That'll be my next book, right?
And so today we began a recording, and Eugene was conducting the interview. He wanted to know more about me, and that's for an upcoming program. You have a program that you're going to be launching on YouTube, or where?
Yes,
you want to tell everyone about that?
Yeah, that's right, Doc. I did this program specifically for you. Having followed you for very recently, but I was really blown away by the amount of knowledge and content that you have. So I felt that a show on Supernatural Confessions would be very fitting for us. And you came up with a name called Paranormal. And you know how inspired I am by Beyond Belief. And I put the two names together, put Beyond Paranormal. And it's a show for you, hosted by you and me, where each week we explore different facets of the supernatural or the paranormal world, from third eye to even past life, and all the whole range of stuff that you have been talking about on Uncommon Sense. But in this particular show, we break it down into a 1-hour segment over a period of 12 shows in a season, where we try to really bring this information, condense it to people who don't know about that, and this is going to be mind-blowing for them, I believe.
Great. I think so. Speaking of blowing minds, and we had many discussions about some of the experiences you've had, and
Yeah.
that you said that you would probably share that tonight with people about. Was it about near-death experience, or am I remembering it wrong?
Yours. Well, it's not as near death as the ones that you face in your life, but
Yeah,
I came very close to dealing with death in a way where I cannot prevent because the things that were happening was not science or medical. It was really in the
yeah.
realm of supernatural, and that can be very, very scary.
Would you be comfortable talking to us about that, or?
Yeah. In fact, I think the title you have today on your show is All Things Supernatural. So I
Oh,
think this
yes,
would be a very
yes.
fitting episode to talk about things like that.
Please, please.
I don't usually share this with a lot of people, Doc. Primarily because in society today, modern society, talking about your brush with supernatural would usually get you the "you are crazy" tag. And even if those people who believe in you, they believe in ghosts, what would you expect them to reply?
Hmm.
There's nothing much that they could contribute effectively to a conversation like, I just had a supernatural experience and I almost died. You don't expect people's reaction to be one that is going to be very empathetic to the plight. So what happened was in 2012. Uh, Prior to that, I'm interested in supernatural, pretty much like most of the viewers out there would be. You watch horror movies, you read ghost
Hmm.
story books, you talk about it
Hmm.
around campfire with your friends. Ghost stories have always been one of the core content of Asian entertainment, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
But at 2012, I had an experience where it was hard for me to be rational about things. It's hard for me to tell myself it's just a win or it's just science. Uh, it got so bad to the point where the first 6 months of having this experience, and the thing was, it didn't happen to me personally. It happened to my then girlfriend. So I had the front row, the VIP seat, to seeing all that is happening with her. When she gets out of her possession, or when she has that respite and she becomes herself again, she don't remember anything that has happened to her.
Hmm.
So she's blessed, and I'm left with all the memories. Um, and in the first 6 months, we tried to go to all the doctors. We went for the MRI to check, your brain to see whether there's overactivity, underactivity. Why is she hallucinating? Could it be stress? Does she need medication? And it turns out that a lot of the doctors said, it's work related. It's work stress. Is it relationship
Hmm.
problem? And we go like, no. And her boss, thankfully, was kind enough to say, why don't you take a 1 month paid leave? And if you need to extend the leave, you can take a garden leave. We'll still hold your position.
Hmm.
Just relax, right? And she did that. So work couldn't be a problem anymore. Relationship, I was there for her. So I hope I'm not a problem. But yet every 7 p.m. at night, she would tell me, she would grip my arm and say, I can see them around the corner. I can see them walking towards me. They want to talk to me. I can hear their voices. Don't let them come. Don't let them come. Doc, what am I going to do? What, as a boyfriend, I sit there. She points to an alleyway and said, "Don't let them come." And she's
Hmm.
obviously fearful. She's shivering. I felt so helpless. Honestly, I felt so helpless. And on one hand, I just want to run. On the other hand, I want to believe that she's nuts because that would be a very easy way to handle the
Sure,
situation. Oh, you're
sure.
just crazy, right?
Hmm.
So I decided one day to put it to the test. She said, there are things in the room. I felt it. It's there in the corner. It's smiling at me. Uh, so I put powder on the floor. I put powder like flour, a white flour, white powder. And I said, if the spirit is here, why don't you show yourself and walk over towards us? And there were footprints on the powder walking towards me. I sat there and for a while I just didn't know how to react. And then the TV turned on by itself, the toilet started flushing by itself. And then
Hmm.
she looked at me. You could tell the eyes are all glazed, and she said, I told you they are here. And that night, obviously, I couldn't sleep because she's in some form of possessed state. And the hotel room that we were in, because we were on a work, that at that point in time, she was still working. It was a set. We were put up in a hotel room, and there was a balcony. So in my mind, I thought she's going to throw herself out of the balcony. So I kept awake the whole time, and the room temperature was down. So that's just one of the few early experiences. But later
Mhm.
on, it started to escalate into the realm of you know, crazy supernatural activities when I brought her to see spiritual people,
Mhm.
and they started doing tests on her. And in
Mhm.
fact, I tested the spiritual masters myself. Initially, when I first met them, I didn't tell them enough details. I deliberately left a lot of details empty.
Mhm.
And the fact that not just one, but I went to many, but five of the ones that I trusted really could tell me pinpoint precision of what's wrong with her and what's going on. When I end up putting all the pieces together, including her recurring nightmares, it turns out, Doc, that there's something to do with past life. Her
Mhm.
past life, the past life version of herself made a pact with a demon or an entity, and the demon wants to claim back its debt into this life. And somehow I'm involved in that past life situation, and
Mhm.
only I was able to help her through it. And why people were asking me, why don't you just break up and you leave? First of all, I that is the easiest way to do things, but I can't bring myself to walk away. And if she dies, that's going to be on my conscience for the rest of my life, and I'm not going to live with that. And secondly, if I were to already believe in the supernatural at that point in time, an entity, a benevolent entity, told me, because when she take on possessions, she could take on both. Any spirits around the area, she could just go into her
Mhm.
body.
Mhm. Mhm.
There were some things called the lights, like the good guys, the angels, the lights, and they said,
Mhm.
uh, I was supposed to die. She jumped in and took that blow for me, and that's why she is behaving this way now. And in next Wednesday, 1 week from now, she will start to die. Her body will start to break down. And I said, wow, that's so specific. At 9 a.m. the following week, she fell unconscious, was rushed to the hospital. Apparently, there was a muscle blood, there's some blood disorder, some brain disorder, and the doctor gave her 6 months to live.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was near death encounter for her. I was seeing all this happening, and I had to find ways to sort of solve it for her. So at the end of it all, we didn't really solve the problem. What we did was we hide her. We removed her aura from
Right.
from the radar, or from the demon to detect, and we just hide her out of sight. That's what we did.
And that's what you did.
Yeah,
Sorry, you know what's so funny? I had this thing. See, I have it running on this Facebook, right?
yeah.
But for some reason, I am so tired that I actually have it the other program running, and I said these questions look familiar. They're from yesterday. Just, that's that's how that's how crazy it was, and the same people were coming in to all of this that I just addressed them as they came in, because that's the normal time for them to come in. Here, they're so predictable in how they come into the studio. I am so sorry. You know what? So what did you eventually break up with her, or what happened to her?
So that whole ordeal lasted for 2 years.
Yeah.
After that, I couldn't continue a romantic relationship with her anymore. In fact, sometimes when she tries to play, she tries to tease me, and she goes, like in a girlfriend boyfriend relationship, you would have fun, you would make some voices, or even you go to bed, and I couldn't I couldn't be in a romantic relationship with her because I constantly have this feel that anytime at all a spirit would jump into her body and it would not be her, and that really killed any romance that was left in that relationship. So we part ways
Yeah.
amicably, and in order for me to sort through my own story, I actually found closure by writing a book. So it's called Supernatural Confessions, and that was how this whole platform started, because I wrote the
I
book
see.
first.
I see.
Then people started calling me and says, "Hey, they got experiences as well. Anyone someone to talk to?" So I said, "Yeah, talk to me."
Awesome. Awesome. Um, and did anybody give you any answers that you were happy with and could
Yeah,
somehow come to terms with?
yeah. Over the course of 2 years, I learned a lot of things spiritually from different pathways, and a lot of them, like what you said, in uncommon sense, people people don't realize the power of consciousness and intent. And even to protect myself, people were saying that, oh, just have to visualize a white light. Uh, yeah, it's easier said than done, because visualizing a white light when you're not in a position of desperation just is an exercise in good imagination. But when you are desperate and you have to believe in something because there is nothing to protect you, that imagination and white light is all you have. And all of a
Right.
sudden that becomes the only armor you can depend on. And that amount of belief and conviction in that really creates a difference in the atmosphere. And I could feel it. I really could feel
Absolutely.
it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Just to draw a parallel and the difficulty that a lot of people have is that it's very difficult to tell dissociated identity disorder, which is what we call multiple personality disorder in the past. Now we call it DID. With dissociated identity disorders, the different characters that live inside of our minds, our imaginations, are compartmentalized so that they actually are completely different. The phenomena that I've seen in mental hospitals around the world, when I was interning, when I was helping, when I was dealing with clients who had to be extracted from those institutions, it became very evident that as one personality morphed into another personality, the physical structure of the face changes. The way the eyes look changes. The retina squeezes shut and opens whenever it needs to. And there's absolute control, but from an unconscious perspective. And so when someone says, and there was a psychiatrist who wrote a book and said that all mental illness is all of this possession and demonic this and this and that and that. But I can tell you that if you were to use the classification, it's a book this big, DSM-4, now DSM-5, diagnostic and statistical manual, so that we can talk to each other about symptoms and classes within which all of these symptoms appear. It pales in comparison to the idea of energy being created by a part of the mind that can direct it for a purpose. And we have no clue what the purpose is. And it may be past life related, it may be current life related, it might be all sorts of things. And then we're drawn into a scenario where you become an essential cog in all of that karmic link, so on and so forth, But I can tell you for a fact that nothing really happens if you are strong mentally. But if you freak out, then what happens is you lose control. You become part of the circus. And so you're not useful to anybody by any means, number one. And you are entertainment for whatever these things are. And so imagine, boo, they go the other way, boo, again, and say, oh, let's have fun. Let's call it human ping pong, or something to that extent. But again, the difficulty is, where is the power of the mind, and where are these discarnate entities real? Do they exist in nature? Are they in the trees? Are they everywhere? And they are. That's the good news and the bad news. Will they attack you for any reason? Depends on what kind of thoughts you're thinking at any time. People who are depressed tend to attract them a little bit more. It's like you are fodder, for them. They feed on fear, distress, depression, anger. Oh my God, they love all of this stuff. They lap it all up.
That's very true, because that's what one of the I think that's what a few of the spiritual masters have said. And when we look at my girlfriend, she's constantly depressed. She's not like that by nature, but throughout that ordeal, she started getting very depressed, thoughts of suicide, very suicidal thoughts, and then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, or it feeds itself, and more and more spirit starts to come to her. Because when I asked the spiritual master, I said, why do all these spirits start to come to her? And they said, well, that's because she's depressed. I said, but she's depressed because the spirits are there. But when the spirits are there, maybe there's one or two to affect her mood, and then it spirals down, and now she becomes a beacon for everyone else to come towards her. So she's conscious not to want to be scared or have that feeling of anger and sadness, but she can't control it, and it just start to manifest itself in other ways.
It's called the Chinese New Year paradox.
That's the first time I heard it.
I just made it up. Where you have a gathering of certain family that you want to have there, and you're there to feed them and to enjoy yourself and all of that, and all of a sudden appears in the driveway people you don't want to see. They're also family. It's like, how the hell? Who told them that this was taking place? And they start to show up, and they are the unwanted members of this group right now and then, right there. So it's a Chinese New Year paradox. We want to celebrate our, what do you call it? What do you call it when everybody gets together? The dinner?
Reunion dinner or Tuan Yen Fan.
Reunion. Yes, reunion dinner, but you cannot control who is reuniting with you, so it becomes crazy, and all it takes is keeping some things to yourself, and also at the same time making sure that the thinking is healthy. And that's why I tell people, if you can, please think as positive thoughts as you can about other people, even though some of them may be total assholes, and they are. Some people are assholes. You have to acknowledge it. Sometimes you're not depressed. You're just surrounded by assholes, and that's a normal reaction, is to be depressed. I say, I wish they would go away, just like the Chinese New Year or Christmas holidays, you know? When are you going home? We just want you to go. Oh, yes, that's very funny. You're staying till what? No, you're staying till tomorrow. Oh, geez, I want to kill myself. You know, whatever the case might be. But just to answer the question directly, do you pray?
Me? No, not that religious. But usually I pray like on festive season. Like if there's a Vesak Day, I'll pray during Vesak Day. If it's Good Friday, I'll go, but not on a daily basis.
Oh, okay. So you are Buddhist Christian Buddhist?
I consider myself rather spiritual. Like I do believe in the higher power. I do believe that all religion has some source to it. So I believe in the spirituality of energy and the powers and
right.
gods, but I don't really subscribe specifically to a particular institution. Okay, only this or that. Yeah. Right.
There's a study that was done in Uppsala University about 15 years ago. I was affected by the study because it was part of the consciousness studies that I was doing at that time. And I was putting a book together on this. And what I needed to do was to understand prayer, ritual, what is its role in getting us to this point, to that point, in creating energy and so on and so forth. So the Uppsala University study was this. There was a group of people, and they were told to pray. I mean, they were fairly religious. They're from various different religions. They came there, and they were told to pray. And there was a group 1 and 2 and a control. The control group, no one saw. They were just left alone and so on and so forth. And the people in group 1, this prayer group was told that they are vile, and they are child molesters, and that they are criminals, and they've never been caught, and they're rude and ugly and unkind, and bang, 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 bang. And then the group 2, they were told that these were the silent heroes. These were the people who tried to help as many people as possible, and these were the people who deserve our prayers and such like. So the group obviously prayed for the ones who were there, and prayed for the other ones to go away, to disappear. So a negative sort of prayer, like one positive prayer is, here, take all my good energy. The negative prayer is, please go away, create a force field around these people, and so on and so forth. Ashok, I see you in the backstage. I'm going to bring you on board in just 1 minute. Okay? Just stay there. Stay where you are. Well, actually, let me bring him on and let him sit. Okay. Turn the other thing off, Ashok. Turn the other thing off. The volume.
Your Facebook.
Turn your Facebook.
Don't know what is the other thing. Okay, hold on.
Your Facebook. Turn your Facebook off. The volume on Facebook.
Okay, hold on. Your Facebook. Turn your Facebook off. The volume on Facebook. Okay, hold on. Your Facebook. Turn your Facebook off.
It takes him a while. He's an engineer. He solves technical problems like this, is what he does. And then he gets a phone call. on top of everything. So anyway, I'll finish the story. Where did I stop? Which part did I stop in? Just can you?
University, the three control groups. One is the criminals. One
Yes.
need
Uppsala
blessing.
University.
Yeah.
And so when they took blood samples from these people, they
Yeah.
found that the T cell counts of the people that were prayed for rose by a factor of 20 to 30%. The white cell counts that raises their immunity. The ones that were cursed or more or less told to go away, they actually dropped their immunity levels by a factor of 15 to 20% also. And the control group, well, it just fluctuated, +5, -5, +5, -5, and so on and so forth. And this was quite steady. So the power of prayer is amazing to heal your body, and yet at the same time to protect you from a lot of these things that are going on. But you must believe in what it is you're doing, not like some people do, people that come into Buddhist temples or Sikh temples or Christian churches and all these places, and they're going and they're thinking that that's enough, and it's not. If you feel the power of it, then it becomes real, and your mind generates the electricity, your mind generates the energy to literally create that force field of good around you.
I've got a formula for that.
You do. Okay, wait 1 second. It is said that Siddhartha Gautama Buddha was so pure and so powerful in his prayer and his meditation that karma within a 5-kilometer region of where he sat, karma was erased for a lot of people. That's interesting, isn't it? Now, if you could go out and do that with a whole bunch of people, imagine what will happen. You now become the exorcist. You now become the person to make things better for a lot of people, and just touching them, you heal them. How amazing is that?
I totally believe in that.
And you were saying, yes.
And this goes to the formula that I have in mind, and I think Doc, you might agree with this as well, because I was listening to Meta Secrets this afternoon. You gave me the link, right? And I diligently was listening to it, and I was like, shit, yes. I was going yes in a lot of different places. So I have this formula for power of the prayer. It's conviction. You believe in what you're praying in. With the intention is extremely strong. When you pray, you need to have a direct intention. You can't just pray for general blessing, is that not focused? But if you have an intention with your conviction in the faith that you have, what really powers it is the level of desperation. That's what I felt, when you have all these three combined and it's very high, you literally can make things happen. And if you are religious, you say it's the power of God, the grace of God. If you're not so religious, you say, well, this is some form of energy, for manifested from intention. But either way, whether you are religious or not, this thing works because of here, all up here and here.
Instead of thinking of it as desperation, think of it as deep desire.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's all that people talk about manifesting. My friend Ashok in New York right now, he's in the studio. Welcome, Ashok.
Hey, Ashok.
Hi, how are you guys doing?
Very good. Eugene is the creator of a program called Supernatural Confessions. And we are teaming up to work together on a collaborative program that has no name yet. Or does it have a name?
Beyond Paranormal.
Beyond the Paranormal.
Yeah. Very nice.
And neither one of us knows what's beyond the paranormal, but we're going to figure it out as we walk there.
I mean, those are just words. Like I wonder sometimes when people say, when you said, firstly, thank you for being on my show, Celebrating Life.
My absolute pleasure.
And this Sunday too, I'm going to be on my show. He's going to be on my show, and I thank you so much, because I know it's late for you, 11 p.m. But then a lot of people over here, they complain because, especially the people in California, it's like too early for them if I do it early. But thank you very much for that. Always a pleasure. But so what I was saying is, those are just the words, what words we use to describe it. When I asked you, what is the show about tomorrow? And you said, it's about supernatural. So I started thinking, I'm like, oh, okay, what's a supernatural? That means which is not natural. So does that super means not? That means Superman is not a man, like all those things, right? You know what I think, right?
It was two words: super, natural.
Right. So
Yeah.
so it's beyond natural, like where we are
Yes.
trying to understand, right? I
Yes.
don't know, I
Yes.
know that, but you know my side, like how my brain thinks.
Yes.
Like I try to do a funny association with that, trying to figure out this stuff.
I'll say yes, even though the answer is no.
Okay. Oh, no to how I think, or no to the supernatural. Um,
You choose.
so yes, like I was listening to the conversation, and that's what it makes a lot of sense when you were saying the people who are weaker, they get more affected by that, which people who have got a weaker energy level.
You're
That
talking to Eugene, right?
I'm talking to both of you, like you
Oh,
said,
okay.
Dr. Gill, you were explaining it. Dr. Not because there are two people I have to refer, like you and you. No, Dr. Gill, you were explaining that the people who are weaker, they get more affected by that weaker energy level, right? And that's so. I mean, we all know. Like I shouldn't say all, but like most of the people know that these powers exist. I mean, there is a energy level which we can't see, okay, which we can't perceive with our five senses, and I experienced that a lot of time, and I also know if you bring people into a certain environment, they can start if and actually virtually you close their input from your visual input and the input from the senses, they start developing this energy body, and the energy body can sense much more than that. Like I was um, back in first week of March, I was in LA with my friend, and we have gone on this trip on the Pacific Highway and all that stuff, and then we spent some time together. And what happened is just um, at least that's according to her, just being with me, seeing how I'm interacting with the things and the energies and everything. I wasn't doing anything which is not normal for me, but she started developing this thing and she started feeling the energies, and then we are driving all through the coast of California. Like we've come to a point, like we have gone to actually Mount Shasta, which is very energy vortex over there, like people call it. It's the root chakra of the planet Earth. And we started feeling so much energy. I was driving, I could not literally drive.
Wow.
I pulled the car. I said, I cannot drive. Can you drive? She said, yeah, I can drive. I'm not feeling anything. And I said, okay. So I pulled the car to the side. It was like a blowing of the fire coming onto my face, even though I had a big windshield, windshield and everything closed. But I couldn't just like it's like I couldn't even stay there. I said something is going to happen. So I pulled it around, and she was talking to me, and she said, Ashok, there couldn't be something like that because all these trucks driving by you, like if they're feeling something like that, they wouldn't be driving. I said, because their energy body is not developed, so they are not sensing all that. For them, it's no energy. You're just passing through it. And she said, okay, I can drive, right? So I said, okay. So she sat on that side, and I was feeling that much energy. And while she was sitting, I said, are you sure? She said, yes. I touched her hand. Right. I touched her hand, and she started driving. In 2 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes, she said, I have to stop. I'm like, what happened? She said, there's a lot of energy. I'm like, but you said there is nothing. She said, now there is a lot of it. We literally have to stop the van on the side of the road. It was that much energy. And then we are gone to Mount Shasta, and there was a lot of energy in there, and we felt it.
I have two questions.
Go ahead.
Were you drinking anything? Were you smoking anything?
No, none of that.
Nothing. None of that. Okay.
Not for the last 36 hours. So
Okay,
if
there's something called flashback. It happens once in a while as well.
no, that was actually it's interesting thing though, when you said drinking or doing this thing, and what happened is like we were supposed to drive back from there, but we couldn't drive. I said, this is so much energy. We should stay in
Okay,
this energy overnight, right?
sure.
Plus, she was a beautiful girl, so why not, right? That's my
This
chance.
is this
Right.
is this this is Ashok. He's my resident hippie. He kind of keeps everybody into this flow and energy. He's a walking Woodstock, for what can be and the possibilities.
I'm
that
feeling
can
the
happen as
energy
well.
already as
Yeah,
Asha is talking.
he
That's what,
he spreads it everywhere he goes, unconsciously, without even trying, and all the men in those conventions that we go to are all paying attention to him, and they're going, "What's your secret? How are you doing this?" and everything like that, and so all
so
the women feel very safe with him.
thank,
Mm.
thank you.
Yeah.
So what happened is so we both looked at each other. We said, we can't go. Like, this is so much energy, and we are never going to feel that, right?
So how
And
did you generate it?
uh, how did I generate it? It's not a one point thing. It's not that I generated it at that point. My energy body is so much developed with so much meditation and living in the moment and celebrating life, and that's why my show is celebrating life. I said you can celebrate life in any situation, doesn't matter what is happening, and I experienced it, and I had so many experiences
So
where people.
it's a long-winded way of saying I don't know.
Oh, of course, I don't know a lot of things.
No, how you generate it. You just tell me that it's around you like a cloud, and
So,
you because of who you are.
so sitting with you, if I just close my eyes right now and just concentrate in this moment,
Yes.
my brain start tingling. Like it's like a really actually tingling sensation, and and everything around me. And that's what I don't know how I do it. Like that's the short
Right.
answer.
Right.
But
Right.
everybody around me, they
Do it
start
now.
saying,
Do it now. Generate
Yeah.
it. I'd like to observe and see if it's palpable for people who are watching this right now. Because my mind is still on the fact that Mount Shasta is the root chakra of the world, which would make Los Angeles the rectum.
okay, so I did whatever I do. Like I feel the energy, but that's another thing though. Like when the energy goes through the technology, when we are doing the root, and I will
Mhm.
explain that to you too. You
Sure.
don't. That's why many of the people ask me. They said, like when I was with them, and actually, just this friend who I was with, when she felt all that when we came back, she said, Ashok, you changed my life forever. She said, if other people can get 10% of what I receive, their life will change. So we are going to do retreats on this one, right? And I said I cannot remotely do it because when it goes through the technology, any of the electronics, that energy does not pass through. So
A,
you may not have seen anything, but I'm feeling it right around me.
a very long time ago, there was a gentleman named Anton Mesmer, and he would bring mostly women that came to him because he's a very charismatic person. You remind me a lot of that person. And he would have this large tub of water put around, and people would put their feet in it, and they would sit around, and he would quote unquote charge the water with his energy, and they would get rid of a lot of their ailments. And he was the beginning of what we now know as hypnosis or hypnotherapy, and hence the word mesmerize came from Anton Mesmer.
Oh,
Yeah, that just to let you know. And so some people are mesmerized by your energy, by your personality, and sometimes the personality of a cult leader, and you will make a very good cult leader, by the way, and they will want to follow, and they don't know why. And if you tell them, look, energy is here, and they will feel it here.
Yeah.
You tell them it's there, and they will feel it there, and so on and so forth as well, because you believe. And that's all you need to do is believe, whether it's right or wrong. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying that you can direct this with some form of expertise and power. But what Eugene had to go through was a supreme nightmare. I mean, you talk about terrible dates and relationships. You know?
Yeah. So
you know, when people say my ex-wife was a witch, that's nothing compared to Eugene and what he went through. Have you ever encountered, Ashok, any negative, that kind of negative, evil almost energy, intent, that kind of thing? Have you ever encountered any of that?
No, I did not. Okay, so that's why I said I don't know. When I say I don't know, I'm open to all the possibilities, and I tell everybody like don't listen to what I say. Don't listen to what Dr. Melgill says or Jay Shetty says or whoever, or Eugene says. I said, listen to it. Don't 100% believe it. Just have an experience of that. If you have an experience, there is nothing like that. So what Eugene has, he had that experience. Okay, so the experience make you even much more available and understanding to all those things. But also, like if you go with the idea that I don't know, which I always like for everything, even the things which the science will say they are correct, I'll say I don't know for sure, right? Because once you say I don't know, you open up these possibilities of learning more, and that's how I get to this stage. It didn't take me 20 years of meditation in a monastery or going to Tibet and staying there for 2 years. I just did it because I experienced many other things, not the supernatural, many other things. My ex-wife, if you want to believe it, she was probably more than a supernatural. So I've gone through those experiences in a different way, and I sat down and tried to figure out how to do that. And meditation was one thing which I tell everybody is the one which got me through that.
I have a question for you first, before Eugene answers Suba's question. You said you didn't spend 2 years in Tibet. What's the lore about Tibet? What draws you to Tibet? Why Tibet? Because from what I understand, if you spend too much time in Tibet, you come up with a gambling problem. Because that's how that's how the country got its name. You want Tibet? You want Tibet? So
yeah, I know you had an angle over there, but
why Tibet? I'm just curious for you.
So I was of the firm belief that you can be anywhere and you can create anything, right? Till I started going all over the world, okay, and I started realizing there are certain spaces. I don't know whichever way you want to call it. You want to call it a magnetically oriented with the ley lines and where they made the pyramids and all. There are certain places which has got a different energy level. Okay, and that could be the placement of that place in wherever it is. Like if I want to say on the planet Earth, and then you are going to say, but Ashok, Earth is rotating, so their position is changing every second. I understand that, but relative to the other things, it's not changing. Like if you take the other planets and we are all moving, if both the cars are going at the same speed, you are basically stationary on the highway. Like sometimes you feel like that. So I realized, and I realized in the last 2 years, not long time ago, there are certain places where you can go where there is a different kind of energy and where you can experience these things more
Agreed.
than the regular one.
There's a lot of them in Bulgaria, just to let you know. A lot.
I know that, and you were talking about the movies the other day, and then I was looking at like there is a very famous show in India, and it is all shot like 10 episodes of that was completely shot in Bulgaria. I see how beautiful that place is.
It is. It is.
Yeah. And
Eugene was just asked a question by Suba. Eugene, you want to address that
Yes.
question?
Thank you for the.
Let me read the question so that you can answer it. It says, Eugene, I have a question. If someone senses deja vu, is that a sense that they are experiencing something from their past life that seems familiar to the current moment? I would like to hear your theories about this.
Okay, so the way I look at deja vu is that feeling when you come to a place and you go like, hey, I've seen this happen before, and whatever I just said or did happened in my dream, or I'm sure I came through this before. My take on it is not so much that it's a past life memory. I don't see past. It's not possible that what I'm feeling today happened in my past. Different time, different place, different era, different outfit and everything. So it's not from the past life. My take on that, Suba, is I believe in parallel universes. I believe that at any one point of time, our actions will result in many different pathways that we can create for ourselves. And at certain points in life, again, this is just my belief. I'm not saying I'm right, but how I see deja vu is that in our lives, there are multiple milestones that will, in all parallel universes, will cross over, or at least a number of them would cross over. So it's almost like watching a bender snatch. It's almost like playing a game of interactive storytelling where you have different pathways, but at certain angles, they always converge together. So the deja vu portion is at that time and place where the fabric between both worlds are so thin that you actually get a glimpse of what happens to the other side, almost like a split second before that. So that's how I see deja vu. It's a parallel universe and how it converges together at certain points. Doc, do you have your take on that? I'm sure, Ashok, you probably have something on deja vu as well. It's a good question, Suba.
Yeah.
So I'm in a deja vu like every single day, every minute. Like when I am like what is happening in my life is like I think everything I've seen it before. Like I will have like such a profound experience, and I'm like, yeah, but it happened before. So I don't know where it comes from. Like what you say is I'm not sure. I do believe there are parallel universes, and I don't know where they cross and why they cross, but like everything which is happening is like most of the time I see like, yeah, this has happened before. Like it's not new. And like in the morning, like when I get up, like I knew how my day is going to be, and I get up and I say, I actually thank the universe, divine, whatever you want to call it, in the morning. I'm like, thank you for a beautiful day, hanging around with these beautiful friends today. And that's what happened. Not that they told me they were going to meet me. They didn't tell me that. And then I think I was talking with Dr. Mel Gill one time. He said, you may be creating that Ashok, as you are going through it, because you already planned what is it going to be, and it's getting created. And that also comes to when we were talking about the higher powers, when Dr. Gill was saying, okay, do you pray? I whichever way people want to think about it, like praying, like a god or whatever, because then there becomes a religious context. But praying is just like connecting with the higher energy and surrendering yourself to it. So there is the power of the surrender in there. Once you surrender, and you say, oh, I don't know why this experience, this supernatural experience is happening to me, and you give it to somebody else to deal with it, and then at that point in time, something happens in your mind, which Dr. Gill probably know better, that you kind of give the responsibility to something else. Like I give it to, say, God, and I said, this is your baby. Like I don't know what it is. You take care of it. And after that, I don't feel anything. I'm like, okay, if you fuck up, that's your fuck up. You fix it, God. It's not mine.
You know, Eugene, why women like this guy? Because they can have a drink in their hands and they can spend all that time drinking while he goes on and on and on, and they don't have to get involved in the discussion because he'll just talk and all of it will make sense and
Yeah.
they'll follow it and they'll say, I love Ashok because other guys will be asking me questions. How do you live? What do you love? What do you do? That is too invasive. And Ashok just lets you listen on as he goes on about everything that happens. It's cool.
And
I
Ashok
like
has
it.
Ashok has a demeanor where you would trust him immediately. Like, I only
Yes,
met you,
yes,
Ashok, for like maybe less than
yes.
10 minutes. I'm like, well, he can be my best friend, and we can hang out on Sunday, and I could just sit there and listen.
Easily.
Yeah.
I'd
am
be
your
I'd
best
be
friend.
watching him do that.
No, I mean, because like, see now, yesterday, Dr. Gill, I adopted the policy which you tell me to listen. So I
I
listen
saw
to
her.
I
I'm
listen to your whole
noticing.
program. But you keep on telling me, Ashok, come on. I'm like, no, I'm in a listening mode today, right? But people want to hear. I mean, all these things like surrendering to the higher powers and everything, and everything makes sense which you say. It makes
Okay.
sense in a different way. Like so I was saying like why it affects the people with the weaker energy is because it's like we have got all the bacteria around us, right? And if our immune system is down, we are going to get sick about it. That's the way the energies, all those energies are around us. And if we are inside, our energy is weaker, then those things attach to us. Because like if they have to attach to something, they wouldn't attach to a person with a strong energy, like because they have to really fight with it. Like they will find the easy target. And then if your energy is weaker, that means your energy immune system is down and they will attach to it, which I came to know when I was in Amazon, uh, because uh, I was on this mountain deep in the jungle, which uh, the shaman said, like there are thousands of spirits which lives on that mountain, and which is like if I tell you the story, that's another 10 shows. But so I'm not going to go. But basically, what it is like we were 9 people, and they put in like these little black marks, and like the paintings on their face. And what
Mm-hmm.
she was doing, she called
Hang
her
on for a
dog.
second, guys. I'm having internet problems. And are you there?
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
here.
Okay, good. It just crapped out for a second.
so
What happened?
they put in.
I don't know. We're talking about the supernatural, and I keep hearing sounds. And do you guys hear the sounds, or is it just me?
Nothing. It's
No.
perfect.
Perfect for me.
Okay. How interesting is that?
It's as clear as that. So when I was talking about that when we were 9 people.
We'll come back to it because
Okay.
Ashok was on a mountain, Eugene, and he was high in more ways than one. But he'll tell you about it.
Yeah. So it was a mountain in the Amazon, okay, where the spirits live according to those tribes over there, and they don't allow people. We had a friend who was somehow connected with that, so we were 9 people over there gone. And what they did is before calling the spirits, they put in these paints. You will see those people have got face painted, and uh, they did painted a few lines on the other person. For me, she called her daughter and she said, I want you to paint him. I have the pictures. I'll show it to you later, Dr. Melgill. The whole face, and they wouldn't stop. She took like more than an hour to paint that. And I said, well, why you are painting me that much more? So the shaman said, through a translator, of course, I don't know their language, that she said, you are so much open to the energies that we have to protect you more, because at that point in time when the energies comes in with all the good things, also you opened up the channel and the bad things comes too. So this is our way of protecting you. Like this is like, okay, this is my man, don't mess with it, kind of a thing. And
spiritual makeup so that people don't recognize you. Okay.
So
like Clark Kent, all you got to do is put glasses on. You won't know he's Superman. There you go.
Yeah. So I had very profound experiences over there, but no bad experience. Some people had very bad experiences over there. Like they thought like all the demons came in they messed them up and all those things. Of course, they were doing ayahuasca at that point.
We want to cover tonight as much as possible. A depth would be good, but let's cover the breadth of everything because of the constraints of time.
You go
And so let's talk about everything possible. Suba talked about deja vu experiences. There's so many theories out there. There are people doing precognitive studies with MRIs, and they flash unpleasant pictures and pleasant pictures. And so they measure the brain and see what the brain is doing as you observe pleasant pictures, and there's a different set of neurons that are firing, and different ganglia are firing at the same time. And with unpleasant pictures, another set is firing. Now, here's the fun part. After about 4 or 5 minutes, they found that people could anticipate the negative picture a half a second to a whole second before it shows up. And again, it's at random. So you don't know what's coming next, so on and so forth. And so that tells us that we have a precognitive ability to be able to tell an outcome before the outcome happens. So we go into this little side slip. And because reality is fluid, based on what you think, what you feel, what other people feel, there can be something called a collective reality. Like there's a collective reality that a group experience will take place with such and such chemicals or without. And so as a result, you also have these things that used to happen in Malaysia a lot, Singapore a lot, India a lot, mass hysteria in schools. Someone would talk about what's it called? The Malay goes Puntiana or something like that.
Yeah.
And the possession and things like this. It's some woman that's wandering around with the pin in her head, and if you take the pin out, she'll die or something.
It's a nail. It's a nail.
It's a nail.
Yeah, there's a few theories on the Pontiana, but I'll share that later. You go ahead.
Yeah, and so as a result, all these cultural agreements between people make for something to happen. Like once a year, there's Hungry Ghost Month in Singapore. I mean, literally, I don't know when. Eugene can probably tell us when the gates of hell open and all the dead people come out. Right? When is that?
Usually in the lunar calendar, the 7th month, which falls around August in our normal Roman calendar.
You do not leave the house at night. Because they glob onto you, but you offer them food like Kentucky Fried and oranges and fruits, and they'll leave you alone and gobble that.
Beautiful woman in there.
There is the Pontiana is supposed to be a beautiful woman.
I'm going out. Well, Eugene, I'm going to check the day with you. I'm definitely going out on that night.
It's a very interesting topic. That
you want to go out. He wants to go out with Pontiana. Did I hear him say that?
He wants to see a hot ghost girl.
I think when we mentioned the nail, I think that got him. He said that he wants to nail.
He wants to nail her. No, he got the nail part all wrong.
I guess.
See, the thing is, there's this collective belief system, and that affects reality. It's very interesting because I travel around as well, and in some countries they have no culture of horror, but in Asia, Malaysia, Indonesia, Singapore, we have this shared history of folklores. The Pontianak, the Penanggal, the Kuntilianak, which is a Indonesian version of the Pontianak. There's the Sunda Bolong, which is another version of the Pontianak. So there is a Pontianak myth, but it has been divided over many sub-genres of Pontianak depending on the country you're in. Indonesia has its own set of beliefs, Malaysia and Singapore, but all these beliefs revolve around a long-haired woman dressed in black, died at childbirth, and you can take her out. And this is where Ashok will probably be interested. If you can take a nail and put it to the back of the Pontianak's neck, she will turn into a beautiful, docile wife that you can take home and marry. Legend has it, one man did that, and the Pontianak turned into a mortal woman, dutiful, loving, very beautiful. But one day, the nail fell out, and then she went batshit crazy, and she killed everyone in the village.
I was going to say that. I'm like, but she's got a nail in the back so that you never get her in the missionary position. Anyway.
Just don't do it too hard, and you will come. Okay, there's another story I want to share with you guys that is also in line with collective belief. I think, Doc, maybe this is one experiment we can probably try to replicate again in future and document it officially. When we did this with a bunch of friends, we took a picture of a home that looks like a haunted house, right? So obviously we went there prior to doing all this experiment. We went there to check. It was not haunted. It was reputed to be haunted, but when we went there to check, nothing. Our EMF meter, the electromagnetic field meter, did not go off. There was no EVP recorded, no fluctuation in temperature. For all intent and purpose, scientifically, we are unable to draw any evidence from the place to say that it's haunted or there's unnatural phenomenon. But when we take photographs of the place and we went back to our team and we showed the pictures around to everyone, and we said, yeah, this place was haunted. And everyone started believing that it's haunted because they say they can see things and orbs in the picture, and that, people want to believe it's haunted. What happened is when we went back to the house again, this time with all the same gadgets in the same place, all the activities start going crazy. The doors were opening and closing. So what I believe was the belief in the collective belief, the energy of the mind and the conviction that the place is haunted creates that connection, and then things start to manifest. So again, there's two theories here. One, the place is already haunted with its own negative vibration, but all it needed was the battery powered from the human mind to trigger it, to power it up, so that all these things start to manifest.
So I was going to ask you that question actually from Dr. Melville. Exactly, you kind of said you kind of got my question and started talking about it. So this is very interesting. So I see like more of these, like even if I see percent-wise, more of these things and these stories are coming from the Asia side, right?
Yeah.
Rather than from the Europe or something like that, because there were stories which were told to us when we were little kids about all these stories, about all these things. So I want to ask Dr. Gill whether if that is the case, is that our mind is already ready to receive that information? That is why we are seeing more of that, and why we see less of that in the Western world.
The reason you don't see much of that in the Western world is because you're not there. I'm in Europe a lot, and in Eastern Europe, you got a lot of ghost stories, a lot of these fables. They take on different forms. Some of them take on, there's these Mothman appearances in France. There are these nuns that walk around decapitated. Where my children are living right now, the house that we live in New York. I don't know if you know about Sleepy Hollow and the legend of Sleepy Hollow. Well, Sleepy Hollow is only about 5 minutes from Terrytown, and Croton, where they live, is about 5 minutes from there. And
I'm going to go see Luke tonight.
You could, if you wanted to, but do something very interesting, because I did this with my cameraman when we had very sensitive cameras. And this was in the way back 10 years ago when we were creating the Meta Secret. And I just finished filming some folks who were in Philadelphia at that time. We were driving back home. And the cameraman sat there. He said, I feel something. And he's a little bit, quote unquote, psychic. It was like an antenna for all these things. And so I said, point your camera in that direction, because I felt it too. And I kind of knew something was about to happen. And he pointed it there, and I said, now start flashing away for the next 1 minute. Every second, take a picture. And he did. He started taking a picture. And in one of the frames, we caught a figure, and I still have the picture somewhere. I'll bring it out. He caught a figure sitting on a brown object with legs. So it's streaked. It was a little bit streaked. But what the heck? It looked like a headless horseman riding on a horse. It was so interesting.
And you have that picture.
Yeah. It's just outside the golf club. And it freaked the hell out of my kids when they saw it. I don't want to go there anymore. I said, it's okay, that's fine.
I'm in no way no way saying that these things are not real and they don't exist. Like I don't want anybody to conclude that, right? I do know these energies exist, and I do feel that many times, But what I'm saying is why in certain places people are. I mean, the Amityville House of Horror, where they made two movies, is 10 minutes from me where I am. Amityville is literally 10 minutes
Yes,
from me.
yes, yes. I know. I
So,
know.
I'm in no way saying that. I'm trying to is like some like when you said Ashok, you manifest your day because you already because we were talking about the Amazon thing, and I said I had the best experience of my life. You said Ashok, you always have the best experience because you already create the experience in your mind before you even go in there. So I'm
Hmm.
saying when people are too scared and these demons latch onto them or whatever happens, did they already have the story before they go in there, and that's why they feel that more than the other people, like because
No,
certain.
you see, the thing is, it's a cultural conditioning that allows you to see these
Mm,
phenomena within the culture.
mm.
That's why Japanese ghosts are all with the long hair, and the hair is in the front. I don't know if you know that. And they're always, yes, that's right. They're looking through the hair and things like that. And usually it's an inspiration from their, wedding night. I have no idea, but but
Yeah, we are
and,
not talking
and
about your wedding night, Mel.
well, you be you should have been there. but with say for instance in where you come to England, good old England where things are a little bit proper. Even the ghosts appear a little bit proper. It's a cultural thing,
And
and
they
so
put
in
on suit
South,
and a tie,
usually, yeah.
right?
Usually they're always dignified. I mean, look, I brought my son to France. We were doing a shoot with at that point. You may not know her, the politician Chu Mei Fong, but we were doing a shoot for some other things and da 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 da. And we lived in a haunted place, and my son came running into my bed in the middle of the night. Said, "I can't sleep there, Dad. There's something watching me." And so I said, and I felt it at the foot of our bed.
But did you
And I,
tell your
and I
son?
and I looked up, and there was a Frenchman dressed like a Frenchman from the 18th, 19th, 17th century, and they're all dressed in that whole cultural thing. So the mind is very, 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 very powerful. You cannot say that these exist independently. It's like you've molded and created a doll, and that
Mm,
doll now is free to run around with a little bit of
mm,
artificial intelligence. Is doing its own thing and things like this. They are monks, Hindu monks and Tibetan monks. Speaking of Tibet, whose training is to sit in a very dark cave, and for them to survive and get over the fear, they have to sit on a corpse. Literally, cross-legged on the thigh, because when rigor mortis sets in, the body just literally comes up just like that, right to the face, and you graduate when you are able to have no fear, and you're not screaming out of the caves, because you're afraid of this or afraid of that and afraid of other things. The less fear you have of this, the more you can control it. The more fear you have, the less you can control it. It's like anything in the environment. If you're more afraid of the thing that's out there that you're trying to face, well, it has power over you. It dictates your movements, your thoughts, your thinking patterns, and your emotional state. But if you are unafraid, even though it appears grotesque and terrible, I'm not talking about ex-wife, I'm talking about grotesque and terrible and all of those things, and they look like they want to devour you and so on and so forth, then you still have control. You're looking at it and saying, why? And it's the whole idea is not to kill them, get rid of them, or send them to hell. You see, they're forms of energy. And
mm,
Newton's third law of motion, no energy can become zero. Energy transmutes and become another form, from one
mm.
form to another form to another form. It's up to you to transmute it. It's up to you to redirect it. It's up to you to move it in a Tai Chi or Aikido fashion into a place where it belongs, or it's less threatening to a lot of people.
That is
Mm.
that is such an amazing explanation. That's what I was trying to get from you. That's why I come on a Dr. Mel Gill show, because you have these explanations around all these things which are so beautiful, which an actual human mind can understand. Like the people who did not have that experience, they can understand. So what I'm coming to the point is, yes, these things are there. Yes, they are there, but still you have the control how you react with this and how much they affect you.
Yeah.
And what happens to most of the people who goes into, like which you said, you become a circus, is that they don't think they have any control. If actually we as humans have control, but once we start thinking that we don't have it, we cannot do anything about it. And that goes with the karma too, which is another episode which we will do. Like when people say my karma is affecting me, so the karma affects some people. I think it affects some people much more than the other people. Like
Endless discussion, because
it's endless.
you, the only thing to watch out for is make sure your karma doesn't run over your dogma. That's all.
That's right. But we as a human, okay, will always will be able to react to the things differently, whether they are paranormal or
Sure,
normal.
absolutely.
And create our own experiences. Now, I'm not saying you can completely control the paranormal, like you can. I mean, I have been in these situations, which you asked me. I was in the in the pyramids in Mexico with Jeffrey Allen. I don't know whether you know him, Mel.
Very close friend of mine. Very close friend
of mine too, right?
We used to run programs together.
Okay.
Yeah,
because he got a girlfriend in Japan. He was living in Toronto.
Wife.
He was living in Toronto, and he said, I was sitting over there, and I thought Toronto was calling. Oh no, Tokyo was calling me, and without knowing, he gone there, and he met this girl who didn't even know his language back then, and he didn't know Japanese, and he married her. So I was with Jeffrey Allen, and we are gone to the pyramids, and he said, "Sure, we have to activate these pyramids. There is energy." He works with energy, and Eugene, you don't know him, you can Google it. Very, very smart guy, very, very popular, very famous. He sees those.
He used to be an engineer. And when he started to be able to manipulate energies, he's the real deal, because whatever he does, I can see. And I know that he's not full of crap like a lot of people. And speaking of full of crap, I was in a shopping mall in Singapore in Chinatown, People's Park. Yeah. And I was meeting a fellow who was doing some acupuncture on my back, because I had just thrown out my back by lifting these very heavy boxes and piano and things like that. Long story. But and a fellow walked in and gave us his card. And this guy knew about me, because I don't know how, being from whatever, but he knew that what I could do. He says, "You can see, can't you?" I said, "Yes." "And are you using it to help people?" I said, "As many as I can. There's some people I don't want to help, but I leave them alone to suffer, because they deserve it." And with the rest of it, this guy comes in with the card, and he says, "If you need my services," he knew the guy, "I can help you." And then we read the card and we looked at it, and one of the things he can do or could do was Ghostbuster, not Ghostbuster. What did they call it? Exorcist. He's an exorcist. And he laughed. And he laughed at the guy's face. And he looked at me and says, "Dr. Gill, if this guy saw a ghost, he would shit in his pants." He doesn't know what he's doing. Have you ever seen a ghost, both of you? I mean, like,
no. To be very honest, I have not seen it with my eyes. Like, I've not seen a manifestation.
You've seen it with the other parts of your body.
No, I see it through photographs, through Cole Sport's figure of a woman, but never seen in my eyes like that. Yeah.
Ashok?
It depends on what you call a ghost, which is not human. You mean, like, I have seen that, and actually at the same place where I was with Jeffrey Allen, and we were in the pyramid, and he said, "Oh, I have to activate the energy." So we were like it's 7 people. He put us in a circle in front of the pyramid, and then he said, "Oh well, you guys are not aligned, so start moving the circle." And I'm like, "What do you mean we are not aligned?" He said that they are saying, the pyramids are saying you are not aligned with the energy, because if you have to open a lock, you have to align the key properly so that it goes in there and open it. And he started moving all of us. The moment I came in front of the pyramid, like this is circle going, he said, "Stop." Everybody stopped. He said, "This is a line." And I'm like, he said, "Ashok, you are, stay right there. We are totally aligned at this place." I'm like, "Jeffrey, what the fuck? Like, why I have to be in the front?" Because by that time I started feeling this much heat coming towards me. I thought I was going to fall in the behind me because we're standing in the edge. He said, "Okay, let me ask them." Like, then he closed his eyes and he said, "They say you are the king. You have to be at the head of the table."
Wow.
Right? And after that, I don't know what happened. They did whatever they were doing. And I saw, now Dr. Gill will say, like I was saying, this may be a preconditioning of the culture. I saw this beautiful girl in the pyramid. Okay. Yeah, I got it. I got it. What
I noticed there's a common trope here with Ashok. It always involves a girl somewhere, somehow in the story.
No. He was a king somewhere, and these women are his harem. They're showing up one by one by one everywhere. That's the only secret. His harem is getting together.
So she said, "You want to play?" And I said, "Yeah, sure." Firstly, I said, "Why?" She said, "You look like you want to play." I'm like, "Okay, we'll play." So she has a ball in her hand, and she throw it towards me. I throw it towards her, and you're doing.
She had his balls in her hand.
No, I know what you're trying to say.
That's what I heard.
You're doing that, and after that, when Jeffrey was done with all this thing, everybody moved, and they're trying to move. I was frozen. I could not move because they said to me, like, "You were doing like this. We don't know what you were doing." I was playing ball with that girl, right? Till those people came in to close the pyramids, right? Okay, I'll give it to you, Dr. Gill. But like, he can vouch for that. He can vouch for that. And what happened is they said, "We have to close this place." So we said, okay. So they were trying to get me from there, but I wouldn't move. It took a lot of effort to get me out of there. And after that, I was spaced out in dinner. They said, "You are not the same one again." They bribed the caretaker to get into the pyramid along with Jeffrey Allen. You can talk with him. Bribed him, like we all put in $10 each, which was like a $70, too much money. 10 o'clock in the night.
Get him into trouble.
10 o'clock in the night, in a full moon night, we've gone through the secret door into the pyramids where nobody can go, even in the daytime. And I encountered that girl again, and I'll tell you that experience some other time. I mean, because I don't want to keep on talking, then you say, "Sure, keep on talking all the time." But yes, I did have that experience.
All right.
I released her when you said you can move the energy. In the end, she said, "I don't know where to go." And I saw a window in the pyramid. I said, "You can go out that way." And she was gone. And she said, "The curse is lifted." I did not know curse was on me, on her, but that's another long story. Sometimes I tell you.
I thought,
sometimes when we
I did see it. Yeah.
Listen to these stories, and it tells us that everything in creation is somehow connected, and what holds it together is our imagination or our desire to experience something. And so as a result of that desire, that desperation, there was a word you used earlier, Eugene, is that you need this, you want this. I mean, there are many experiences, and I'm going to tell you, there is a spiritual experience, and the true spiritual experience doesn't have a lot of these things happening. These are just incidental. These are things that are a little bit distractions along the way. I remember the story of how Buddha was telling his 12 disciples as they were meditating. His emphasis was always on meditation to reach the fourth jhana, where you can experience pure bliss. And you just simply want to help and heal, and you don't want to create more karma in the world and so on and so forth. You want to relieve it as much as possible. And so one of them developed an ability, a supernatural ability to levitate. And he started to float, and he started to say to his friends and the other people, and said, "Look at me, master, I'm levitating." And all Buddha did basically was look up and said, "Stop fooling around, sit down and meditate." And that's it. It's no big deal, and so on and so forth. So when you become and take on the mantle of a king in this world, or as Eugene, a partner to somebody experiencing all of this in this world, then you begin to realize that you have a responsibility, and that responsibility is to the environment. And so this is the real spiritual journey, because the responsibility is to you to grow so immense that the universe and you are not unconnected, that you are one. But yet at the same time to remain so humble that you serve others. You're not a slave, but you serve others. Imagine the king, Ashok, serving everyone. What humility. And that is what is needed, because that's what true power has, is this kind of humility. And so what I noticed is that the supernatural, paranormal abilities, high intelligence or empathic abilities, UFOs, alien technology, multidimensional beings, magic, witchcraft, all this other stuff, they're all connected. So it seems as if you want to know more, if you want to get higher in all of this, you're going to experience all of these things. You're going to experience. I started a series of meditations. I didn't tell you, Eugene, today in the interview. And Ashok, I haven't told you. I haven't told anybody, actually. If I tell my parents also, they'll freak. But I've begun a series of meditations. And I know that, and the reason I did that is because I feel that something is coming that is bigger than you and I can ever imagine would happen on this earth. We're about to take a quantum leap in evolution. We talk about wanting to spend time to meditate, wanting to have time to yourself away from your friends, wanting to isolate. Well, guess what? Nature has done it for us with the virus. And so we spend more time with ourselves and less time dealing with people. And so we start to now pay attention to our own consciousness. So we are primed. And human evolution is not like this. It happens in quantum leaps. Literally, boom, the next step. And we're all staying at home, spiritual beings, because only the highly spiritual people actually isolate themselves and sit quietly and meditate and all of that. Well, guess what? The whole planet is doing it as a whole. Literally, from South America to Central America to North America, except in DC, Europe, Asia, Australia. My God, if that's even a country. So you have all of these things happening, right? And it's happening globally. And we will never be the same. We cannot go back to work as if life is the same anymore. It's going to feel alien to meet with friends and say, "Oh my God!" And now sit even in an elevator. I mean, without a mask. Let's say we don't need it. You're going to be so aware of the person breathing. They don't even need garlic for you to be aware of this, and you'll just step back naturally, and you won't want to participate in that. You want any comments on this? Because the more disconnected you are from everyone, the more connected you are.
I believe that the change is coming. I felt it. In fact, some of the stuff that I've been reading and following, a lot of it points to as early as 2012. When we all talk about the change, the end of human life as we know it, and there'll be a change. A lot of what Hollywood feel and a lot of what mainstream media thought it was going to be is at a stroke of midnight on 2013, January 1st, the world will end and everything will change. But it doesn't work that way in the universe. We feel that 1 year is a long time, 10 years is a long time. But
sorry.
Paranormal taking over.
My computer, I made it to sound cartoonish. It says, "What the fuck are you doing, Bill Gill?"
I thought the ghost took over and they're like, "Let's fuck up this program." They can.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Finish your
Yeah.
story.
So with that, there's a lot of things that we will see changing. The consciousness level will increase. A lot of people are asking questions now. The awakening is about to happen. Again, this is not my opinion. This is just something I've read and I'm sharing with you guys. Doc, you probably have more to chime onto this. But I feel there is a connection that is ready to be made between those who can connect in a higher vibration and those that are left behind. And this is where the great divide would happen. You either walk out of this COVID-19 situation still hoping and holding on to the past, or you evolve and you start to expand your mind. And the next phase of life beyond 2020 is no longer the material needs. It's no longer the things that you can buy. It's really how much you can connect with the cosmic energy around. And it's not even two men in a room sitting down connecting just because it's side by side. It's the connecting of the human mind and spirit together, that the physical form no longer is required.
Yeah, we're beginning to discover that money is not important, that family and all of these is more important. And here I have Joycelyn, who has some very interesting story. Joycelyn, I threw in the StreamYard connection link. If you would like to click on that and join us, first of all, put some clothes on and then join us. You would be able to tell us a story or how it has affected you. I know you showed me some photographs of what you saw in the clouds in the sky. I want you to tell us in your own words. So join the program. We have two other gentlemen here. We would like to balance it out with a female point of view. So come, join us.
So while she is joining, like I have to address certain technical issues because I know, Dr. Melville, you are very eye-centric. You think everything is Apple because you keep on making, when people were complaining, like yesterday, Danny was saying, he cannot click on the link. Okay, so I'm going to clarify it, which will be useful for all the future people who are coming in there so that you know that, okay?
Okay.
So if you have, Dr. Gill probably tested it only on iPhone because it's he's eye-centric, right?
iPhone,
if you want
iMac, everything is
iTunes and everything. If you have Android phone, okay, you cannot click on that link. Okay.
Oh.
Yeah. And you can, and then you said, "Oh, Dan, copy and paste it." And I'm a technical guy. I was trying to figure out things for you, and you're making fun of me. But like I liked it. I'm like, okay, somebody's keeping the things interesting. So you cannot copy and paste. You cannot click on that link. On an iPhone, you can do it. On your computer, you can do it. So the only way I figured out to get on it, I go out of that, go to my internet browser, whatever you have it on your phone, type in StreamYard.com / whatever is in there. And then you can go in. So this is just for the Android people who have got Samsung and Android. And by the way, I think it's only for the rich people. Most of the people in the world have got Android phones, because so we think like everybody has got an iPhone and we test everything with the iPhone, but that is the story. So if we are waiting for Jocelyn to come in, I don't know. Oh, she said, I'm in my bed.
Well, she's getting ready. She's fixing her hair and she's going to be joining us in a minute. And so we'll be part of that. But I am, for the first time, experiencing some internet problems. Never before, because I set everything perfectly and I even taped everything with gaffing tape, actually.
I'm not sure if you guys believe in this, but usually this is something I've noticed, whenever I am talking about spirits or supernatural, the electronic stuff tends to go wrong. It has happened so often that I no longer believe it's a coincidence anymore.
When I talk to somebody on the phone, and usually because of this COVID thing, these issues that they have, I don't know if you know it, and I don't say it a lot, I don't admit it a lot, but I help people remove things that come into them and all. I do it online as well. And they're there, and usually there's a lot of this static. I felt it, I heard it just now, Eugene, from you, from your area, and
from my side, right?
Yeah, I heard it. But since then it stopped. You noticed that, and I've done something to your room. So just to make it feel better,
Thank
just
you.
to let you know.
I see the comments over there. Nurani says she want to know how to do it again. She has got an Android. Jocelyn says she cannot get through. So you want me to help them, like talk her
Please,
through? She
please,
can.
please, please.
So Jocelyn, if you are trying to get onto that one, if you have an Android phone, you have to go to your browser on your phone and type in that whole URL. It's streamyard.com / is the one which changes every time. So you have to write it down and do that.
It's like I'm listening to tech support from India.
So Nurani, you said it keep on asking me to click allow for microphone and camera. I couldn't click it. You should be able to click it. I'm beyond that. I don't want to take up the show, but I also want people to come on so that we can have a discussion over here.
Yeah, of course. It would be great to have a discussion.
Right, but
I want to run the whole gamut. So we've touched on psychics, and when Jocelyn comes on, we'll talk to her and we'll go back to ghosts. Let's take a quantum leap forward into fringe energy, free energy devices, UFOs, and what they are, what they're not. Have you seen one? I've seen 2 or 3 or 4 already in my lifetime. One was over Singapore 12 years ago, maybe 13 years ago, and when I saw it, I was living in Seletar at that time, Seletar Air Base, and I was talking to an engineer, and he says, "Mel, turn around." And I thought it was somebody about to, hit me or something. Look at the sky, and I looked at it. It was a green ball, and it was spinning. It was spinning relatively slowly, not very fast, and it was between the cloud and the sky. It lit the cloud from the back, and it lit the sky. So it was so powerful. And it wasn't a reflection of the moon or anything like that, because as it was spinning, it was moving across the sky. And from the newspaper reports in the Straits Times at that time, a green object, many people saw it, flew into the sea between Indonesia and Singapore, between Batam and Singapore, and it just landed in the water. So this place is interesting because that whole place, that between Batam and Singapore, is also the place where you experience a lot of water tornadoes. I don't know if you've seen those water spouts. They call them water spouts. And there's some kind of a vortex in that area. So wherever you have high technology, what is your comment? Are they extraterrestrial, intraterrestrial, or what do you think?
I like to believe that, because I'm when we talk about UFOs, we always think of little green men, the grays, the greens, right? The Roswell, Area 51, with all the Hollywood movies coming to our mind.
When you say little green men, you're not referring to Ashok. He's wearing green.
No, it's blue. I tend to believe UFOs and these beings as they are from another planet or another dimension, but they are of higher evolution. They have evolved way beyond us, and when we look at them, they are almost godlike. And because of how the Earth rotates in every, I think, 25,000 years or 2,500 years, that's when all the Stargate opens up, and then you start to see all this visitation again. And I like to believe that there are certain period of time where the stars are aligned, to borrow that term, where we'll get visitations from them, because over the last couple of years it's been very quiet, but now we're seeing all this start to happen again. So yeah, that's my take on that. They are different race, but we perceive them as gods. I've probably been here way back as well.
Yeah, I've seen it. I'm not sure though. When we always talk about these things, and we say, like I totally believe there are other universes or whatever. We are not the only one, right? And we always think about like they are much more intelligent than us. They are very advanced in science and technology. Yes, some of them maybe. Some of them could be inferior than us. I mean, how do we know like everything is better than our in technology to us?
Oh, you mean the ones that are floating in ships that fly at supersonic speeds might
Well,
be more inferior to us? Okay.
not in technology, but like in the other things, in the totality of the things. The technology, if you are a better person with technology, that doesn't mean you are better as a person, better as a
Okay.
whole. Okay, so that's the thing. But like, yes, there are other entities in the world. That's why, like that. That's a simple answer.
Okay.
Hmm.
Interesting.
Nah,
Interesting.
I've not seen a UFO. I would love to see one.
Yeah. So what then, since we're discussing all these things, what do you think Yetis are? Yetis or
Oh, Bigfoot.
abominable
Abominable
snowmen,
snowman.
Bigfoot, yes?
Yeah, all these are cryptoids, right? There's so many things out there in the world that we have not found, and just because we didn't find, we can't just say they don't exist. And yeah, I totally believe in that Loch Ness monster, Bigfoot, all this. I grew up with this, so whether they are real or not, like what Doc you said, is how we perceive and we want to believe, and then it becomes real. So yeah, that for me, those really exist, and why we don't hear of them anymore? Because of a great cover up. People don't want us to know about such things, because the more we know, the more we question, the more we realize that our reality is not what we've been told. We start to wisen up, and it's not useful for whoever that's pulling the puppet strings for the majority to be wise about the world.
And that's what a lot of men hate, is the great cover up. Ashok can tell you more about that when he invites them to the house and they don't take it all up, but they cover up. Keegan, join us for this discussion with
Interesting question.
Eugene.
Yeah.
And since the ladies are not taking us up on the offer, join us and tell us what you think a little bit, because he's asking, what are your thoughts on the theory that Earth was bred by aliens that took the chromosomes of apes, bred them with an alien race to use them as slaves to mine minerals that were to fuel their ships?
Thanks, Keegan, for these questions. I've been dying to talk to someone about this, because people are going to think I'm just crazy when I start talking about Enki and the Sumerians and how they came down and they spliced the old. There were already humans, or what was the old version of humans back then, and we were used as slave race to mine for not just minerals but specifically gold, because that was what was used to power this technology from the aliens. So apparently there was a battle between Enki and his brother over the rule of how men is supposed to be. So the brother decided that, as slave race, we have to be used as slaves. But Enki decided he wants to free us, and that's kind of how we divided. And I think from that point there was a bit of it. I'm excited about this story, so I'm going to go on, but I'm trying to rein it all back. But yes, to answer your question, Keegan, and nice to see you again as well.
Does that help you, Keegan?
Oh yes, because
Keegan, how are you? Good to have you.
Hi, Ashok.
The other part to the Eugene thing that he didn't want to tell you is that when Enki stayed on the Earth, he mated with a lot of the females, took as many of them as he wanted as his wives, and just made it away past the time.
So Keegan, you are trying to say we have the superior chromosomes which they needed it?
The what? Sorry, hang on.
Are you
The superior.
The human chromosomes are superior, which they needed to breed the aliens?
Oh, I thought it was just a position you're talking about in the Kama Sutra. The superior position is another one.
Oh, that too. Well, with your mind, like, yeah, that's explanation. That's why I said, Keegan, what do you think?
Because the human chromosome is 23, and the apes are 24. So the theory is that it was somehow genetically modified so that they could interbreed, and that's how the existence of man came to be. And they were used to farm minerals for if we're talking about Anunnaki, then and in Sumeria, then gold was not just a precious metal, but it was actually a metal used for something grader of
Yeah.
or some like a fuel, some sort of
Fuel,
Yeah,
yeah. It's like a
fuel
resource for
of
them.
some resource, yeah, and of course they were giants. So there's a lot of things that seem to be very interlinked, especially Dr. Mo, when you talked about Abominable Snowman, Bigfoot, Yeti, Sasquatch, the existence that they still exist in this day and age, and we can't explain
Okay.
what they are, and also the fact that there's a lot of skeletons that are being dug up that are giant skeletons, not small in proportion, but like
10 feet.
quite, yeah, 10,
Yeah.
10,
Yeah.
10 feet.
Yeah.
12
Right in
12
Barna, downtown in Barna, they dug up the same skeletons. They tried to deny it, but too many people took so many pictures that they're all passing around right now.
Right.
But the people
And-
who wanted to hide them were the people who had small skeletons. They were afraid to
in the
compare.
closet.
Oh, his skeleton is bigger than mine.
It is a so talking about the chromosome, it is a scientific fact. Okay, they have proofs now that around 200 to 300,000 years ago, not like the millions of years of evolution, because 200 to 300 years in the evolution is just a blip. Like they actually have a scientific thing now where they can take out the DNA from there and analyze it. So 200 to 300 years ago, they said they found this deviation in the chromosome 7, which is not even possible by the evolution. There has to be some divine intervention, and there is a lot of details about that. It's a scientific fact. So there is something God intervened to change that chromosome to make us where we can have all these finer things, even the spiritual thought, and we can connect to the higher things. So yes, we do have a superior chromosome in that sense.
And
So-
this is the other thing I find fascinating is that when they relate this to scriptures, there is a lot of, especially when the
Hey,
Okay, you have to turn your camera on.
If you're listening, Ronnie, you need to turn off your Facebook, and then I'll put you back on again. Just say done here, and then I know you're done. Sorry, Keegan, you were
That's okay.
interrupted by that Tarzan.
Yeah, so looking at scripture and the Dead Sea Scrolls that were found not too long ago, and a lot of those scriptures had so much involvement with things that were extraterrestrial, or things for example, when they talk in terms of the Bible in the book of Genesis, there are things that were tweaked and taken out that actually depicted things that we can't understand, things that are very how do you say it? If you were to put those in scripture and were to indoctrinate people, they would question it.
Contradict what they are teaching people already, correct?
Yeah, and a lot of what religion has done is it has diluted what I would say diluted the truth. In a certain way. Hi, Rainy.
Hi, Rani.
Rainy.
You made it finally.
I see there's lipstick on and all.
Did
Yeah,
you have it's called Midnight, I think, the color, isn't it?
Midnight Red.
Midnight
it's
Red.
It's static.
I think that she's just getting ready to go for work, if I'm not mistaken, but it could be different. We're not
Okay.
sure.
She paused, I think.
She's frozen because her internet is so bad. I'm going to take her off the stream for a bit because where she is, it's not as good. She's still frozen, by the way, in the back, so I can see that. Let me spread this a little bit further, because the way to make something a acceptable or scientific fact is say it's a scientific fact without having any background in da 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 da. And Eugene and I want to create a program where we can cite references where people can go, scientific studies for this, and so that people can read up after the program. And you and Keegan and I are going to be creating a whole separate series as well, because of the whole global connection and what we can do. And I think together we can probably create something so vast that would give people enough knowledge that they can start to question what they have been told is the truth, may not be the truth, the entire truth. So are we missing then some element of who is in charge, since we're doing the breadth and not any depth in this? What is the Illuminati then? Who are they?
Wow, that sounds like a entire
Shadow
episode
government.
all on its own, man. That's
Yeah.
a lot to talk about.
Well, this is an intro, Eugene, into what we're about to do. We're about to address all these issues. And who decides if a woman gets frozen and 4 men do not? You know, things like this.
The gods of technology, the gods of internet.
The gods. Ronnie, welcome.
That's where the word came from. Frigid. I'm not dash.
I don't know if
Ron-
you guys have read a book called Chariots of the Gods by
Yeah.
Eric von Däniken.
Yeah, we did.
I didn't.
Fantastic. And the in-depth of that, when it goes back to Egypt, is that when Egypt was the great power, that power shifted to was it Rome, and then from Rome it shifted to France,
Hi.
then France to the English, and
Can
now
you guys hear me well?
Hi Ronnie.
Yes,
Hi, Ronnie. Yes. Did you have a
Ronnie?
question for these men
Okay.
other than would they?
I want to say something. Rani, see?
Oh, she's frozen
she's
again. Oh, okay.
No, it's gone. The
Okay.
thing snapped it out by itself. Sorry.
Right.
Yeah.
And then she put on so much
No,
effort to put
but
on makeup.
she's listening to you though,
Okay.
Ashok.
So, Rani, you know, like how you asked me that a question a few days ago, and you said, how? Oh, she's coming back in.
Yeah. Ignore it, but just talk to her.
Okay. So she asked me a question. She said, how can I be surrounded by 4 men like Ashok is surrounded by 4 women? And this is her manifestation. But she has got trouble. She will be surrounded by 4 men over here. But she has got
And frozen.
and frozen. So
Not a good thing when you're surrounded by 4 men.
that's what I was saying. That's where the concept of the frigid whatever comes from.
Yeah.
Lacking conviction or lacking desire, either one.
Yes. Since Ashok is standing at the front of the pyramid, we know who starts first. And what about the creation of earlier on in the afternoon, Eugene, you talked about the Big Bang Theory of how things came about and all of that. And I suggested that there wasn't just one explosion, there are multiple explosions. It's called the gangbang theory. What do you think about that?
Ask me what I think about the gangbang theory. That's
Oh,
where
yeah.
you want to go.
See, the gangbang theory did not really work out tonight. Rani
No, it
didn't.
didn't.
Yeah. Maybe we should find another time where I think Keegan, you brought up a lot of interesting.
I
topics
mean,
that,
Dr. Dale, those are like so many things you mentioned. This will take a month of programs to discuss all the things which you mentioned.
No, I just wanted to know your thoughts, just basic thoughts on these different subjects. I want to hear all of you talk.
In a nutshell, I feel that the Illuminati is real, and the best weapon that they have against us is to convince us that they are not, and it's all a hoax. If you talk about the original creation of how Illuminati came about as an offshoot of the Masons, and it's led by a rogue individual who wants power to himself, that particular version of Illuminati is no longer around. But what happened, in my opinion, is there are people using the Illuminati engine, working behind the scenes. And we talk about the elites. People laugh when we talk about the reptile people. Well, I won't know. I find it very difficult to imagine the leaders of our society today being reptilian behind that skin. So I'm not going to go down that path. But I truly believe there are elites with their own agenda. When we talk about COVID-19, we talk about the financial market, we talk about how money has been unpacked, we talk about the inflation of dollars, every single point of what's been said. And this is this has been put in place hundreds of years ago. We are just seeing the effects of that. And 30 years ago, you have people coming up and said, I know someone from the Illuminati, I'm a whistleblower, this is what's going to happen in this time and moving forward. No one believed them until it happened. But despite it happening and despite their tales being validated, people in general are still very blinded to all that's happening around them, because the media and society always paints all this people like us talking about this sort of topic as crazy tinfoil hat wearing people, and then we get just pushed into the underbelly of internet. And the minute we start saying UFO, we start talking about the I word, Illuminati, and we say that there is a conspiracy. Whoa, people just stop believing. They stop listening. While we have a lot of people being more aware, but it's not enough. And I think in one particular video, if I'm not wrong, or in an article I read, apparently one of the Rockefeller family members or somebody from the 13th family says, he laughed about it. He says, we can go out there, and we're at a stage where we can go out there to public and tell people what we are doing, and no one's going to believe anyway. He was that ballsy about it.
So we know that Eugene doesn't like lizards and reptiles. So what about you guys?
Then you want to go?
No, you can go first, Ashok.
Okay, no, I want Dr. Gill to go.
No. Look, it's like any gangbang, you don't want to go last. So,
Okay,
Ashok, please.
So, yes, okay, whatever name you want to give them.
Yeah.
The Illuminati is real, and that's all I can say.
Wow.
I am fascinated by alien abduction, and have been for a very long time, because the accounts of different people when they have been on these spacecraft or have gone into these different worlds and realms talk about different beings, and reptiles is one of them. Reptiles, the greys, which everybody knows about, small blue men. The other one was very tall light beings that are translucent. And so, I mean, they're all...
the tall white with the translucent skin is what the entire nation of the Philippines is trying to look like with glutathione. But that's a whole different thing altogether when they start to think about that. Let me then take this conversation, finally, let me wrap it up with something about technology. There is discussion that the Space Force is real, that we have been to Mars since 1957 and set up bases there, more complex than you ever know. And the Starship Enterprise, well, it's no longer just a television series. We have warp speed capability and so on and so forth. What do you gentlemen think about that?
You've heard about how they went to the moon, explored with Apollo 13 and all that. And then that was only 1950 something. And then we went to the moon and then nothing happened. But yet everything else in technology advanced so much more. But when it comes to space travel, no one talked about it. We talk about the Space Force. We talk about a lot of things that's been leaked out. And again, it sounds very sci-fi. And how sci-fi is it? Is it really that far-fetched when we have technology the way it is today, but we still cannot build bases on the moon? People have said that, it's still a war going on between China and Russia and America. And it's also a belief that when Neil Armstrong landed on the moon, they weren't alone. It was not just them. They landed in a place where there was already a colony. And in fact, whoever that was there brought them in to show them the place. I believe in that story. Yeah.
Gentlemen?
I was, again, another no such thing as coincidence moment for me. I got cast in a role for a film called The Manifest a few years ago, where I actually play a Singaporean going on a space mission into space. And I happened to be at the bar, and I was talking, this gentleman came in, and we started chatting. And he happened to he used to work for NASA for 14 years. And this conversation came up because I said, when you travel into space, what does it entail? I started asking all these questions, and he said, well, the only way to travel, from what we know, is to create antimatter, which is to take the atom, take the protons and reverse it. And part of what he was doing was trying to engineer that capability, but it's a lot of money. It's like I can't remember the figure. It was a lot of money to create that antimatter, and to also build a craft where you can't just have the antimatter functioning, because it would burn everything in the ship because it's so powerful. So you need to create some sort of deflective shield or device that allows the energy to propel, but also the energy to disperse somewhere else, so you don't singe everybody and destroy everybody in this ship. And also, when you're traveling in space, it's not streamlined like how we see in the films. It is rotating, and you're spinning as you're moving. So you have to take like some sort of seasick tablets, or something to quell the nausea, because you're not traveling in a streamline. You actually have to spin. And when I'm relating that to the research I've done with UFOs and spacecraft, and one interesting story was an actual engineer from the Army was talking about his experience being in an alien spacecraft, which they found. The craft was only as big as probably 10 to 20 feet, and very small from the outside. But when he went inside the ship, it was 50 feet tall. And he could not understand the physics. He said everything to do with this spacecraft defied physics. And this wasn't even moving. This was a stationary craft. That he says, how can you look at something from the outside that is only up to 8-9 feet tall, if that, maybe less, and this wide, but once you're inside this craft, it is massive.
Mirrors. I'm just kidding. Joke. but here's the thing. We already have Aubert drives. They call warp drives. They are already being tested. There are people using not antimatter, because it would be very difficult to produce, but dark matter. It's a whole different thing altogether, much more energy, and we pull it from 0 point. But again, gentlemen, I just wanted to tell you that the world of the unknown is huge. Things that we are not given, we don't have privy to, things we cannot even imagine exists. Our telephone right now that we're using, the iPhone, is technology that's derived from a 1947 crash in the middle of the Nevada desert. And it's been
Roswell.
Yes, and it's been back engineered by, at that time, Lucent Technologies and Bell Labs and so on and so forth. There are companies that boast that they have these notebooks from what they've done in reverse engineering all this technology. You've got many Bob Lazar. You got a lot of people that are doing all of this work. How about we no longer discuss them as possibilities, yes or no? How about we just assume they're all there, and we just work on the technology, which is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, see, all these things, all these possibilities, I agree with you. They are there. We just have to find out the right way to harness that for our own purpose. Like you said, oh, we already sent the human. Did we already send the humans onto the Mars? And there are humans on the Mars in 1969 or whatever.
57.
57. Okay.
Not my words. These are the words of the Lockheed CEO, who said we now have the technology to send people to Mars in 9 hours flat.
So you have the technology, and that technology is rather than making a rocket which can go out of the Earth orbits at so much speed. What the technology is, it's an anti-gravity. So if you have something which is anti-gravity, then you don't have to take any effort. Like you just neutralize the gravity, and then you can take it anywhere very
Sure,
smoothly.
sure.
Yeah. So
Sure.
so we do have the technology, but we did not land it on the Mars yet. I don't.
As long as we don't have anti-levity, we're okay, and we can keep smiling all the time. But
And yes,
but
the
I
unknown is
wanted to say, Ashok, that Eugene and I and Keegan and I are starting two separate things, but we're coming together and working together collaboratively on exploring each of these in depth.
Yeah.
And bringing out technical books and videos. And Eugene is a producer, director. So is Keegan, producer, director. And I'm just the what did you say, nutshell? In a nutshell, we're just, I do it in nutshells.
You are a nut in a nutshell.
There you go. Ashok always referring to my nuts. I like that. Okay.
Not your nut. I'm saying a nut, not your nut. Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry, I interrupted somebody. You were going to say something to wrap it up?
I was saying that, this needs to go out more, like having more of such like-minded people who are willing to talk about this and not being shamed about that. Keegan, you run the show, I run my show. We meet up again. I can almost imagine us having a conference here of, they have all this over in America, but in Asia, it's almost like no one talks about that. I can imagine this thing taking form, having a lot of traction, having some legs, and who knows, in 2-3 years' time, we can have our own festival, our own con, where we start bringing people and talk about this on a more global platform. So I see that really happening.
Yeah. Unfortunate name though, our own con.
Our own con.
We may have to change that.
Yeah. So that's very interesting, guys. Like the things you are doing to change people's thought process. Like you are bringing in another thought, and which is very important. Not that the people should believe what Eugene says or Mel says or what I say, but they should experience the things. And it's just another thought process, which is telling them there may be another possibility for you. Okay, there may be something else, right? And once you give them a little bit scientific things to prove, because our mind is programmed from the time we were born to look for the scientific and logical fact. Once you give them a little bit of that and raise that curiosity, who knows, you may be talking to, with all these programs, to that next kid who is going to make all that possible for the humanity. And that's what it becomes our responsibility, if we know something, to start the discussion and let people know. And
thank you.
Now we have gone very serious, and I'm like a celebrating life guy, so I want to tell everybody I'm going to do a show with Dr. Mel Gill again this Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. So
yes.
I welcome you. I love you to join it. Everybody who's listening. See, I had to put it somewhere. I had long conversation. I know this conversation has gone that far, but
2 hours already. Wow.
Wow.
I know. So yeah. we will talk about more of these things. But
we will. Ashok, thank you very much for your input.
Thank you.
And Eugene, any closing statement before we go?
No, just looking forward to talking more about this topic. And if you guys are listening in and you want to find out more about what I do and hear the ghost stories, tomorrow I'm actually going live at 10 p.m. on supernaturalconfessions.com. You can go search it on Facebook or on
type it in here so that everybody has it.
Okay.
As well.
And
we look forward to hearing that and seeing that as well. Keegan, you want to close up with a closing statement for everyone? Eugene, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me on the show.
Soon.
See you again. Bye, guys.
I think just went well for me. The first thing was to keep the curiosity open, and that is only because it grew when I had my own UFO experience, which was back in 1996, and that really did make me question a lot of things. That I know what I saw, and it was real. And yeah, be curious. The more curious you are, the more questions you ask, and the more open-minded you become.
Great. I didn't call you today, but I will call you tomorrow, and we'll
Sure.
talk more about what needs to be done.
For sure.
And it's interesting. I need to fill you in on this. You may be doing something in terms of sending the first Singaporean to space. You're about to meet somebody who is about to go to space. So
Okay.
we'll talk tomorrow.
Oh, interesting. All right.
All right. Good night, sir.
Good night, everybody. Bye-bye.
And with that comes to a close another program, Uncommon Sense. And I didn't intend for it to be taking so long, but it did. When we think about how we are connected, when we think about everything that makes us human, we realize that there is a growing and a part of us that is also at the same time relaxing to things we don't know, or slowly dissolving into things we don't know. When we think about the worm, what the worm eats in the ground feeds the root from which it grows. And the story is told by a member of the Ojibwa tribe that the creator was having trouble keeping the world together. And then a little worm said that he could help. And the creator paused, and the little worm spun its imperceptible silk, connecting all of creation with an unseeable web. Now, the creator's gift to the worm was to let it live forever, and allowing that, when the little worm enclosed itself in the unseeable web, it would, after a time, emerge with the thinnest wings full of color, and the worm would then become a butterfly. The story tells us that everything in creation is connected, and that what holds it all together comes from this humble work of living on this earth. No matter what the fantastic stories are of things beyond and dimensions beyond and technology beyond, it tells us that the experience of eternity is possible if we immerse ourselves firsthand in the unseeable web of life. It tells us that if we still ourselves long enough within the web of all there is, we will eventually come to know the lightness of transformation. And so humbly, like a little worm, it is in us to work our experience, our pain and frustration and confusion and wonder into threads of silk. And finally, it is in our realm of choice to first connect everything with our experience, and then to make a cocoon of those connections. Finally, we can enter into that cocoon of experiential connection. The way a Native American sweats in his lodge, or the way a yogi holds his third eye open, or the way a monk maintains his vow of silence, until we emerge wearing our deepest colors for everyone to see, everything is still unknown. So amazingly, the universe is held together by this unseeable threads of our own experience. And our reward for keeping the web of connection alive is that our spirit emerges through what is personal into the center of all being. And so, by being who we are suddenly enlivened, however briefly, into the web of all creation. And no matter how important we imagine others to be, it is always each of us who holds things together in our small, humble way of working through the days with all that we have going on in our days, with the COVID season being the way it is. And it is a season. It will go away at some point. But before it does, this is the quiet miracle that we must get used to, of spinning connections from our very humanness. This humble practice that no one can stop is the work of the worm, the work of that which is the humblest of all of us. And it is the work that joins the lowest of the low to the highest of the high. It joins the servant and the king. It joins the human and the gods. We're all connected in ways that we cannot even fathom. So when you wake up tomorrow morning, ask yourself a simple question. How do you want that day to be? What would you like it to feel like, be like? What miracle are you going to observe and treat like miracles? And that will be what you will manifest. You heard 4 men and 1 woman, more or less, talk about manifesting destiny. Your mind is very powerful. This is all I can tell you. Your mind is very powerful. It can make you sane and it can drive you insane. The only qualifying factor is to stay centered and choose a reality that fits with your sense of fun, your sense of joy. You are alive, people, and this, by its very nature, is a gift. You've been listening to Uncommon Sense, and I am Dr. Mel Gill. We will meet tomorrow for the last in the week series, and we'll continue our discussion into the supernatural, but we'll talk about manifesting the supernatural. We'll talk about miracles and how do you bring about a reality that you now know as a miracle to make it a norm. How do you make synchronicities part of your everyday experience? That's tomorrow's subject. For now, we will sleep, and you will reminisce and think about, ponder, ruminate about everything we talked about. What's going on around us, we have no clue about. Be comfortable with that. Good night, everybody. Thank you for listening.